Good morning. It is 8:41, October the 11th, 2018. We have a tornado warning. This is along the North Carolina coast and goes for just actually a few more minutes here. It is currently in effect until about 8:45 or so, and this is a radar indicated rotation in Pender County, North Carolina. It was actually issued just a few moments ago by the National Weather Service in Wilmington and goes just a few more minutes. But a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located near Burgaw, I believe is how you pronounce that, moving north at 35 miles per hour. Locations impacted in this warning include Murraytown, Willard, and Pender Memorial Hospital. It also is going to be crossing portions of Interstate 40. That's between mile markers 388 and 400. You can see up here on the screen that most of the rain from Tropical Storm Michael remain off to the west of where this red polygon, where this actual warning is. This is just one of those cells that we're going to be watching today throughout the day and have been throughout the night. Because of the tropical nature of these tornadoes. These tornadoes sometimes are very quick. We get very quick spin-ups. And this looks to be exactly kind of that scenario here where it very quickly popped up on radar. National Weather Service has gone ahead and issued a warning for that. And that's what's brought us on air right now. What we're going to be bringing on air here in just a moment for you is one of the products we use through the Radar Scope app to show you, in addition to what we normally show you on radar, this is velocity, and these show you the winds moving towards and away from the radar. And you can see where we are talking right here, and I can actually use a telestrator, just like this, as if this was football, to show you where the concern is. So you can see here, just to the east of the town here is at Waffa, so we're watching as this is going to continue to the north. Again, this particular tornado capable, thunderstorm possible of producing a tornado, that is moving north at 35 miles an hour. So it is moving at a pretty good clip here. And actually we can put this in a side-by-side view, and I can put the regular radar, the reflectivity, off to the left and this velocity off to the right to show you where the aspects of this are. You can see that right now this particular warning is confined to Pender County, and depending on what we see here in the next few minutes, we will wait to see if the National Weather Service decides to continue this warning. And if they do, folks who are living maybe near Wallace or Rose Hill or just to the east of those areas would need to monitor this situation closely. Right now there is not a warning in those areas. Right now we just have that tornado warning for Pender County, and that goes for just a few more minutes actually here. This is a fairly short-lived tornado warning, if I'm not mistaken. Checking in here with the National Weather Service, yeah, it's just scheduled to go until 8:45, which is all about a minute from now. And you probably are used to seeing these warnings go for a longer period of time, but this one was issued at 8:37 and really issued for less than 10 minutes, or just more than 10 minutes, because of the just kind of the quick nature of these storms that we're going to be watching today. And we'll give you a big picture view here in just a moment. But if you are just joining us here at 8:45, this is a tornado warning for Pender County, North Carolina. This is under the jurisdiction of the National Weather Service in Wilmington, and I've actually just seen it disappear off my other map, which would give me the indication that they did in fact just kind of let that expire. And yep, and there's the confirmation. You should see it disappearing off the map I have on the screen here in the next few minutes as well too. So by the time we got on the air with you, just a few minutes after they issued that warning, the whole thing kind of was over anyway. And there you go. There's the confirmation. We can still see that there is a little rotation inside this particular thunderstorm, but that is not too surprising. We've been watching a lot of stuff like that, where of course, these thunderstorms have a little bit of rotation to them naturally, but just because of the nature of this tropical setup, we've been watching little areas of weak rotation all throughout the night in different thunderstorms, and that one right there just kind of briefly meeting the criteria to go ahead and issue that tornado warning, which they've already allowed to expire. I'm moving my radar here back over to where the bulk of the rain right now is, and it's over the I-77, I-85 corridors here, and you can see, let me take this kind of full here, where some of the heaviest rain is. So if you're heading out the door right now in Greenville, Spartanburg, or Charlotte, or anywhere in the foothills, even down into portions of Columbia, this is going to be down now into portions of Florence, South Carolina, you're going to have a very messy morning commute. If you're in a situation where maybe you can telecommute, today would be a good day for it. All those green boxes you're seeing here that are stretching across the North Carolina foothills into upstate South Carolina, and we do have one over Columbia, those are flash flood warnings. That is where flooding is actually occurring right now. We do have a camera in Columbia courtesy of USGS, and I can go ahead and put that up on the screen for you here just to show you a little bit of what the situation is ground level there in Columbia this morning. And so we will continue to watch. That is one of the many threats we will be watching today, is the threat not only for these isolated quick spin-up tornadoes like we just saw a few moments ago, but also the flash flood risk. So real briefly here, let's walk through what it is that we are expecting. So as this camera turns around, I'm waiting for it to turn one more degree to the right here as we're looking live at Columbia, courtesy of USGS, because you can just start to see it off to the right-hand side of your screen there. Just all that water that is making its way through the city and the tributaries. And so we're going to be watching cameras just like this one and watching information from officials. They've already gone ahead and issued that flash flood warning in Columbia because of the excessive amount of rain that they've had fall over the course of the morning already, with still more rain to come. And you can see right there as the systems are trying to handle, the water runoff systems are trying to handle that, how they're doing right now. So we'll continue to monitor that situation along with some of the other camera networks that you see with us here on the Carolina Weather Group. So we have another USGS camera actually in Florence, South Carolina, that we've used a lot over the course of the last few weeks, trying to track the river flooding from Tropical Storm and Hurricane Florence, and you can see the erosion there along the bank. We'll be watching cameras like this too. We're not expecting to see river flooding with this tropical storm like we did see during Florence. We will expect to see some of those rivers come up a little bit, but we are going to be watching those smaller creeks who can more easily overspill their banks, and we're also going to be watching for flooding in low-lying areas, and I think that's a little bit of what's been playing out already this morning in the mountains, where again we do have those flash flood warnings up right now. What I want to show you is kind of a breakdown from the Storm Prediction Center. You've probably seen these before too. These are the different classifications of severe weather that we can expect. Marginal is that first tier, so MRGL, that green there on your screen. I actually think my graphic here needs a bit of a refresh, because I think that might be yesterday's outlook. So let's give that a kick if we can. If not, we will show it to you another way. Yeah, we're going to come back to that in just a second here. But this graphic here will actually show us where the tornado threat is for today. And you can see that for the most part, it is to the south of Interstate 85. That is because that is going to be on the east and south of the eye of this tropical storm. Matter of fact, if we go ahead and we put the forecast cone on, you can kind of see exactly where that center line is, where that eye is anticipated, and for the most part, the tornado threat there is exactly to the east. That is where the strongest of the rotating formula will be, if you will, and we're going to be watching for that. But we all kind of have this threat for wind. We're going to be watching for gusty conditions throughout the day. And again, we're also going to be watching for that flooding risk. So we can go ahead and put this up on the screen here and change out that label for you in the corner. And you can see, especially in the terrains of the western North Carolina Interstate 77 corridor, where you start to get into some of the hills. We're going to be watching very carefully here areas like Statesville and Shelby, just outside the Charlotte Mecklenburg area, and Spartanburg as well too, for the potential for flash flooding. So we're going to be keeping a close eye on that. Let's take another look at radar right now if you were just joining us, because we did have a tornado warning that has been allowed to expire. And the tornado warning for Pender County, North Carolina, came and went in a matter of about 10 minutes or so, which is pretty typical of the setup that we have going on right here today. And we are again looking at some heavy rains right now as we approach the 9 o'clock hour, moving across portions of North Carolina and South Carolina, associated with Tropical Storm Michael. And if you're looking at this and you're not familiar, or you haven't joined us for previous coverage, I'm just kind of outlining this right now is just the boundary of the particular radar I'm on. It doesn't mean that it's not raining in Fayetteville. It just is the extent of that particular radar. Matter of fact, I can actually give you a two-state view of where some of this rain is right there, and you can kind of get the big picture. You can even kind of see how the rain is curved back around that center eye a bit. That center eye right now looking to be probably just a little due north of Columbia. And so we're going to be watching throughout the day. Here is the forecast track from the National Hurricane Center. You can see there the X from its 8 a.m. location of the update here from, again, that Hurricane Center in Miami. That kind of orange circle you see over South Carolina, that is the extent of tropical storm force winds. So the closer you are to the center of that storm is where you're going to see some of the most significant winds. And we're talking about tropical storm force winds. So we're talking about 40, 50, maybe 60 mile per hour gusts. And I can actually show you the probability of seeing a little bit of that today. You can see it's already occurring in South Carolina, and then the probability of seeing it in other places in North Carolina really range from just the outskirts of Charlotte and Greensboro back through Raleigh, and closer to Wilmington and the shore, and areas essentially along that I-95 corridor have a pretty good chance of seeing winds today of at least 40 miles an hour. That doesn't mean we're not going to see gustier conditions. I was actually looking at a model run not too long ago for where I am in Charlotte, and I am concerned that we're going to again see some gustier wind conditions that will pop up later on in the day. So if you are heading out the door to work, do keep that in mind. Keep an eye on that throughout the day so that you can decide whether or not you're going to be sticking out the full day at work, or maybe if you do get the opportunity to head out during lunch or something, doesn't hurt. I mean, schools here in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County are certainly closed. As of the 8 o'clock advisory, Tropical Storm Michael has sustained winds of 50 miles per hour in its eye, and it is moving to the northeast at 21 miles an hour. That's a pretty good speed. If you'll remember with Hurricane Florence, one of the biggest problems we had with Hurricane Florence was it was not moving. It was barely moving, and so it just sat and dumped rain and rain and rain on us for days. But we're in for a pretty rainy day today. Again, we'll continue to monitor that flood risk, that tornado risk, that wind risk as well too. But the good news is by the time we get going tomorrow, this storm is going to be back out at sea and expected to maintain its tropical storm status. Right now we have no tornado warnings in the Carolinas. We are continuing to monitor flash flood warnings, especially across the higher elevations in the North Carolina foothills. You can kind of see it here, but there's a lot going on that map. So if I go ahead and I pop my radar scope back up on the screen, you can kind of see where they are outlined in more of highlight or lime green. Right now those are the flash flood warnings, and we have one more back down towards Columbia. We'll continue to monitor, watch for more of those. We'll be back on the air as situations warrant, so if you're new to the Carolina Weather Group, please do like and subscribe and turn on those notifications so that when we do go live again, you can be alerted to continuing live coverage. We'll be back as the situation warrants. Thanks for checking out the Carolina Weather Group. The time right now, 8:54.